The story of Job is one of my favorite stories. Now, the story opens with a conversation between God and Satan. And Satan basically tells God, the only reason people praise you is because you give them good things. And God says, well, that's not true. And Satan says, well, prove it. And God says, well, take, for example, Job, who is faithful to me. And so God and Satan watch what unfolds as Job's life just completely unravels, where things become unhinged and chaotic. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong. Job gets a terrible skin disease, as well as any number of other diseases that make him waste away. His children die in accidents. There's war that takes his land. His business is ruined. His crops don't come up. And you know what Job's wife says? She says, you should curse God, because clearly God doesn't care about us. But Job still has faith in God. It doesn't understand it all, but it still has faith in God. And so Job asks the very same question that we all ask first thing when we're hurting. Why? Why is this happening to me? And fortunately, Job has three friends that are happy to answer that question. And I call them friends very loosely. And that they try to comfort him. They have all kinds of ideas of what he did wrong. And they're happy to dogpile on him and tell him all the things that he's done wrong, because what that does, it makes them feel like they're going to be okay. That as long as I'm doing the right things, I'm not doing what Job is doing, I'm going to be okay. I'm never going to have to worry about hurting. It's a way to justify themselves. The problem is that although Job's first question was why, he only asked that for a very short time. He quickly moved on to more important, deeper questions. His friends kept giving the same answer to that same question. Job, on the other hand, wants to know that his life matters. He wants to know that the world isn't just random, that it isn't inherently bad, that there are good things. He wants to know that somebody cares about him, that his life is not just fleeting here today and snuffed out tomorrow. I love about in the middle of the book where Job says, oh, I wish that my words were written down on stone with an iron pen. He wants to know that whatever happens in his life is lasting, that it matters. And then he goes on to say, for I know that my Redeemer lives. And at the very last, when my skin is destroyed, there I will see God by my side. Even as Job offers this declaration of faith and trust in God, he still prays and pleads with God that it's true. It's hard when we're in those tough places, when it feels like we've been beat down. Unfortunately, a fourth guy comes and jumps on the pile and has even more reasons why Job must have done something to anger God. That's not the way God works. And you know how we know? Because God comes down in this whirlwind. In the whirlwind of all the pain and the chaos and all the attacks on him and everything that's going on. And God tells Job's friends to shut up. He tells Job not to listen to them, that they don't speak for God. And God answers Job's first question with a question, the question of why. And the response for God is, were you there when I created everything? Have you seen what it takes me to hold everything together? Do you even understand that everything in all of creation is linked together, interconnected? No, Job, you can't understand. You won't know why. It's too big for you. And you got to trust me that I'm handling it for your good. And then God goes on to answer the more important questions. Yes, Job, your life, it matters. It matters to me and it matters to the universe. Things are not random. I have created things good, but they are complicated. And Job, I will be here for you always. I will stand by your side. Now, at the end of the book, Job's fortunes are restored many times over. It doesn't take away what Job lost, but it does remind us that even when we have lost greatly, there is still new life for us. That even when we grieve and mourn the past, God has given us new things and good things ahead of us, too. Our lives are not over when we experience bad things. God can bring good even out of bad. And the thing that gets Job there is not his patience. He actually doesn't have a lot of patience with God. He lays all of his questions and answers and frustrations out there with God. No, it's his willingness to trust God, to have faith in God, that it's going to be okay, that all that pain and suffering and hurt is not going to be his end, that there is yet life for him. And seeing this, God puts Job's friends, their lives in Job's hands. And Job has mercy on them. No matter the horrible things they said, he loves them because he knows that God does. And he understands that they just don't know any better. In the same way that Job doesn't understand everything himself. And so even though in those times when we are hurting, when we are suffering, when it feels like the world is just piling on top of us, when we get angry, we can trust that God has not left us. Even when we don't understand what's going on in our lives, when we don't know why, we can trust that God is with us because God loves us and values us, and is bringing us new life.